They say kids don't remember much. That's a lie. I remember everything. I remember standing in the cramped kitchen of our suburban house, a crayon-smeared model of the solar system wobbling in my little hands. Mom, Rachel, was busy with Tyler's science fair volcano. She didn't even glance at me when I asked for help, just waved me off like I was background noise. Not now, Ethan. Tyler's project is important. That moment, it didn't scream. It didn't slap. It simply cut, so small and quiet that no one noticed except me. Tyler was the golden child, the golden boy with soccer trophies, school plays, and report cards proudly pinned to the fridge. Meanwhile, my wins were invisible, my efforts muted under the noise of their celebrations for him. I learned early that being seen wasn't my place. Better to be small, better to be quiet. Better to disappear before they forgot to remember I existed. By middle school, I was fluent in invisibility. I watched Tyler rack up soccer medals and charm the neighbours, while I settled into the background like an old piece of furniture nobody wanted but couldn't quite throw out yet. "Why can't you be more like your brother?" became my mother's daily hymn. I stopped trying to answer, stopped trying to win a game that was rigged from the start. Tyler's laughter echoed through the halls. My silence filled the corners they never bothered to dust. And somewhere in that hollow space, I made a quiet promise to myself. One day, I'll stop needing them to see me at all. Senior year was supposed to feel like the start of something. For me, it felt like the final confirmation that I didn't belong. The acceptance letter from Princeton arrived on a grey Thursday, tucked between bills and junk mail. I opened it alone at the kitchen table, heart pounding so hard it made my hands shake. Partial scholarship, Ivy League, something real. For one tiny second, I let myself believe maybe this will be the thing that changes everything. Maybe Mom would finally be proud. Maybe Tyler would have to look at me and actually see me. When I showed her the letter, she barely blinked. "Princeton's expensive, Ethan," she said, folding the paper like it was a grocery list she didn't want. "We're already tight paying for Tyler's tuition. You should look at community college." Just like that, the flicker of hope guttered out. I tried, God, I tried to explain. "I got a scholarship," I said, voice scraping raw. "I'll work part-time too." She didn't even hesitate. "Don't be selfish, Ethan. Your brother's future comes first. Your brother's future. Not ours. Not mine. Only his." Later that night, after everyone was asleep, I packed a duffel bag. 2 pairs of jeans, some t-shirts, a second-hand laptop I had scrounged from a garage sale. Everything the first owned could fit into one bag, and somehow it still felt too heavy. As I zipped it closed, Mom stood in the doorway. "What do you think you're doing?" she snapped, arms crossed like a prison guard catching an escapee. "I'm leaving," I said. Quiet. Steady. The words felt like stepping off a cliff and trusting there would be ground somewhere down below. She laughed a cold, brittle sound. "Where are you even going to go?" "Stop being dramatic, Ethan." I slung the bag over my shoulder and looked at her one last time. Not the woman I wanted her to be, just the woman she was. "You can't even name one thing you ever did for me," I said, and walked past her into the night. No screaming, no pleading, no turning back. The stars were sharp above the suburban rooftops as I left behind the house that had never felt like home. And for the first time in my life, I belonged to no one but myself. The first year tasted like metal and cold rain. I didn't defer Princeton because I wanted to. I deferred because surviving came first, and survival was ugly. I crashed on the battered couch of a friend's older brother, a guy I barely knew named Kyle, who was kind enough to not ask too many questions. His place smelled like stale pizza and desperation. Perfect fit. The neighbourhood was rough, peeling paint, broken streetlights, sirens at night. But, for the first time, nobody told me I was a disappointment. For the first time, I got to just exist. My tutoring gig hooked up through Professor Mason, one of the few people who ever saw me barely paid enough to cover my share of rent. So I picked up 2 more jobs, waiter at a 24-hour diner and shelf stocker at a run-down bookstore that smelled like wet carpet. My body ran on 3 hours of sleep and gas station coffee. I was always exhausted, always broke, always scared that one wrong move would leave me with nowhere to go. But weirdly, I wasn't miserable. It was a kind of freedom, scraping by without anyone's help. Every dollar I earned was mine. Every ache in my feet, every bag under my eyes, mine too. Proof that I wasn't invisible anymore. At least not to myself. Winter was brutal. The heater in the apartment barely worked. I slept fully clothed under 2 jackets, hands curled around the one blanket Kyle hadn't pawned yet. Christmas came and went without a text or call from Rachel or Tyler. Not even a half-hearted Merry Christmas Facebook post. Nothing. It hurt more than I wanted to admit. But it also hardened something inside me. If they didn't care about me when I was theirs, they didn't deserve me when I became more. The tutoring job, weirdly enough, started to grow. At first it was just helping middle schoolers survive algebra, but word got around fast. Ask Ethan. Kyle's girlfriend bragged to her little brother. He can make you pass anything. 1 client became 3. 3 became 10. I started building lesson plans at night, scribbling ideas in notebooks between diner shifts, experimenting with different ways to explain math, chemistry, literature, all the subjects kids were terrified of. Every time I saw a kid's face light up when they finally got it, a piece of me knitted back together. I didn't have a degree. I didn't have a trust fund. Hell, I didn't even have hot water half the time. But what I did have was an instinct, a gut-deep understanding of how it felt to be overlooked, scared, and unsure you could ever be good enough. I didn't just tutor them. I believed in them. Because nobody had ever done that for me. After about a year, Kyle's building got condemned. A busted water main, mould in the walls, too many unpaid violations. The landlord shrugged and told us we had 2 weeks to get out. Kyle moved back in with his mum. I didn't have that option. So I found a tiny studio above a rundown strip mall. It had roaches. The bathroom door didn't close properly. The shower ran cold unless you kicked the pipe just right. But it was mine. Mine to pay for. Mine to fight for. I didn't decorate much, just a mattress on the floor, a second-hand desk, and a whiteboard where I mapped out my dream, online tutoring platform built by students for students. Learning to code was like punching my own brain in the face, over and over. YouTube tutorials, free courses, long nights where my eyes burned and my fingers cramped. I made every rookie mistake you can think of. I hired a sketchy developer off some freelancer site who ghosted me halfway through. Lost 3 months' worth of savings. Had to sell my laptop and work off an ancient desktop Kyle loaned me. There were nights I stared at the ceiling and wondered if maybe Rachel was right. Maybe I was selfish. Maybe I was doomed to fail. But every time those doubts gnawed at me, I pictured Tyler's smug, perfect smile. Pictured Mum waving me off like trash to be taken out. And I got back up. Eventually, I built a scrappy little website. It crashed constantly. The payment processing broke every 3rd transaction. Half the students couldn't access their materials without emailing me first. It was a disaster. It was a miracle. Because it was real. And somehow, despite the broken parts, students kept coming. By the end of my 2nd year alone, I had 60 regulars. Some nights, tutoring sessions ran back to back until my voice was hoarse. When my landlord jacked up the rent, I didn't panic. I didn't beg. I signed the new lease without flinching, then raised my rates by 10%. Clients didn't even blink. They knew I was worth it. Still, the loneliness cut deeper than I expected. I walked past restaurants buzzing with families, laughter spilling out into the street, and felt that hollow ache. I wasn't part of anyone's tribe. No birthday cards, no holiday dinners, no random just checking in texts. Just me, my laptop, and the stubborn, flickering belief that maybe, just maybe, I could build a life so good even if nobody ever clapped for me, I'd still be proud to stand in it. I wasn't thriving yet. Not really. But I wasn't begging either, and that, for the first time in forever, felt like enough. Success doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like exhaustion wrapped in quiet victories. Year 3 started with me working out of a coffee shop that never changed the burnt smell of its espresso machine. I lived off black coffee and day-old bagels, tapping away at my rickety laptop, troubleshooting bugs, answering tutoring emails, building a system that somehow was holding together. Clients doubled, then tripled. I realized something important early. I wasn't just selling tutoring, I was selling belief. The belief that even the lost causes could find their way back. By spring, I couldn't handle all the sessions myself. I posted a few listings on college job boards, offering gigs to other broke students who understood what it was like to grind their way through an unfair system. First hire, Jordan, then Priya, then Sam. We weren't a company, not yet. We were more like a gang of underdogs with whiteboards and duct tape dreams. Still, managing people wasn't something I knew how to do. At first, I micromanaged everything, every lesson plan, every response to parents, every marketing flyer. I was terrified that if I let go even a little, it would all collapse, and I'd be back scrubbing dishes for minimum wage. Jordan quit after 2 months. "You're turning into one of those control freak bosses you used to rant about," he said. I wanted to argue, to defend myself. Instead, I sat on the cracked vinyl couch in my apartment and realized he was right. I was becoming the people I ran from, not intentionally, not out of cruelty, out of fear. That scared me more than failure ever could. So I did something Rachel never would have done. I asked for help. Professor Mason, who still checked in sometimes, a ghost from my old life, recommended a leadership coach. At first, I thought it was a scam, but the coach, Olivia, wasn't like anyone I'd met before. She didn't coddle me. She didn't bullshit me. "You're not leading a company, Ethan," she said during our first meeting. "You're leading people's hopes, their energy. If you strangle it, you kill it." Brutal. Honest. Exactly what I needed. She taught me how to build something sustainable, how to create trust, how to give space, how to let go of the tiny things to hold onto the big vision. The business stopped being duct-taped and started being built. We launched our own platform, Eclipse Learning, because every kid deserved their chance to shine, even if someone tried to eclipse them. It wasn't all smooth. Hell, most of it wasn't. Investors sniffed around, interested in the buzz, and with them came the old insecurities. Whenever I walked into those polished downtown offices, I felt like a fraud, a kid in second-hand shoes, pretending to know what EBITDA meant. They asked about projections, burn rates, vertical scaling. I smiled and answered like I belonged there. Inside, I fought down the familiar whisper, "They'll figure out you're not good enough." Just like Mom did. At the biggest pitch meeting of my life, I almost walked out, almost threw it all away. But then I thought about all the kids we had helped, the ones who went from failing algebra to dreaming about engineering school. And I stayed. I fought for Eclipse like it was my last shot at being real. One investor, Olivia's old contact, saw through the nerves to the heart of it. We closed a deal that let us finally breathe. Year 4 and 5 felt like sprinting uphill while juggling knives. I moved out of the strip mall studio and into a real apartment downtown, with big windows and a tiny balcony where I could see the glitter of the city at night. I decorated it with cheap fairy lights and second-hand furniture. It was still more beautiful than anything I'd grown up with. I wasn't rich, but for the first time, I wasn't surviving. I was living. Eclipse grew faster than I could have dreamed. We got featured in an education magazine, won a small business grant, started hiring full-time developers. But success is lonely in ways no one warns you about. At networking events, I smiled and shook hands, but I didn't really know anyone. Everyone talked about childhood memories, vacations, family barbecues. I talked about quarterly goals and product launch dates. There were nights I stared at my phone, wishing I had someone to call, someone who remembered the version of me before all this. But Rachel never called. Tyler never texted. 6 years of silence. It was better that way, I told myself. Cleaner. Some wounds aren't meant to be reopened. Some chapters aren't meant to have sequels. Still, deep down, a part of me wondered. Did they ever think about me? Regret it? Miss me, even a little? I never said it out loud. I buried it beneath schedules, deadlines, and KPIs, because life doesn't wait for the broken to catch up. And I was done waiting. It was a Wednesday when my phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen in 6 years, Rachel. For a moment, I thought it was a mistake. A spam call. Some old contact glitching back from the dead. But then it rang again. And again. No voicemails. Just endless, desperate calls. I stared at the screen until it went black. Then I went back to work, pushing it out of my mind. By lunch, there were 20 missed calls. 12 from Rachel, 8 from Tyler. The text messages started after that. We need to talk. It's important. Please, Ethan, call us. My chest tightened, a reflex I hated like muscle memory from a life I'd left behind. I didn't call back. I finished my meetings. I replied to emails. I closed my laptop like nothing had changed. But inside, old ghosts stirred. That night, curiosity gnawed at me harder than I wanted to admit. When the next call came Tyler, this time I answered. Ethan, he breathed, like the sound of my name hurt him. I said nothing. Let the silence do the heavy lifting. Finally, he cracked. Mum's not doing well. Dad left. The house is in foreclosure. She can't work because of her arthritis. I had to drop out of med school. We're struggling. I leaned against my kitchen counter, the city lights glittering outside my window like another universe I had fought to enter. And you thought of me, I said, flat, unforgiving. We're still family, Tyler said, voice cracking under the weight of the lie. Family. Funny word. Funny how it only mattered when they needed something. I didn't answer, didn't promise anything. Just hung up. I stood there for a long time afterward, staring at my reflection in the window. Who was I now? Was I the scared kid still hoping for a scrap of love? Or was I the man who built a life from nothing, without their help, without their faith? The next morning they showed up at my office. Rachel looked older, smaller somehow. Tyler looked defeated, eyes darting around like he was cataloguing everything he could never afford. My assistant tried to turn them away, but I waved her off. Closure, the first told myself, not forgiveness. Not reconciliation, just closure. They sat stiffly in the chairs across from my desk, clutching cheap paper coffee cups like shields. "You look good," Rachel said. I smiled, the kind of smile you wear to funerals. "I am good." Silence stretched between us, thick and awkward. Finally, Tyler broke it. "We messed up, Ethan," he said. "We know that. But everyone deserves a second chance." I tilted my head. "Do they?" Rachel's face twisted, some flicker of anger flashing before she stuffed it back down. "Classic. You're our son," she said. "Blood is blood." I laughed low and bitter. "You didn't think so when you chose Tyler over me. Every single time." Her mouth opened, closed. No defense came. "When's my birthday, Rachel?" I asked suddenly. She blinked, looked at Tyler, like he might know. He didn't. "It's in July, right?" she tried. "No, April 3rd. The flinch was almost satisfying. I leaned forward, folding my hands on the desk. "I lived in your house for 18 years. And you don't even know when I was born." I let the silence hum, let it buzz in their bones. Finally, Rachel whispered, "We're sorry. We want to make things right." "Why now?" I asked, even though I already knew. Because their safety net was gone. Because they needed me. Not because they missed me. Not because they loved me. They needed a bailout. They didn't want a son, they wanted a bank. I stood up slowly. "No," I said. Tyler's mouth dropped open. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. "Real? Fake?" I didn't care anymore. "You're just going to abandon us?" Rachel hissed. "I didn't abandon you," I said. "You abandoned me a long time ago. I'm just finally accepting it." I walked to the door and opened it. "I wish you well." "Truly? But you're not part of my story anymore." They hesitated. Tyler muttered something under his breath that sounded like selfish. "Maybe I was. Maybe you have to be, sometimes, when survival tastes better than approval." They shuffled out, smaller than they'd ever been, and I closed the door behind them without a shred of regret. That night, I sat on my tiny balcony, a cold beer in one hand, the city sprawling out in endless light. I thought I'd feel empty, hollow, like I'd lost something vital. Instead, I felt clean, light. I wasn't angry, I wasn't sad, I was free. Some people will never apologize the right way. Some wounds never close perfectly. And that's okay. Healing isn't about them. It's about choosing yourself, even when it costs everything you once thought you needed. I raised my beer to the stars. "Here's to the ones who never saw me," I said quietly. "And the man I became because of it. And for the first time, the future didn't scare me. It was mine. All mine. Story 2. If you had asked me last month what loyalty gets you, I'd have said respect. Maybe a handshake. Maybe even a send-off cake. Turns out it gets you an email that says restructuring. You're terminated. Effective immediately. 15 years I poured into Vertex Dynamics. 15 damn years. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday. I'd just gotten off a client call with Miss S. Brennan, a client I'd personally brought into the company years ago, when the organizational update email hit my inbox. Thought it was another corporate buzzword memo like synergy improvements or team realignment. You know the drill. Instead, it was a 13-word death sentence, signed by our charming CEO, Elliot Vaughan. No call, no warning, no thank you. Just poof, gone. I remember staring at the screen, my heart thudding in my chest like a trapped bird. Senior account director, 44 years old, wiped away in a single click. Around me, the office buzzed with normalcy. Phones ringing, keyboards clacking, a burst of laughter from the break room. Life went on, like I hadn't just been shoved out the airlock. Maya, my neighbour 2 cubes over, must have sensed something was off. She peeked her head around the partition. "You good, Danny?" "Yeah," I lied. "Just wrapping up." I started packing, A framed photo of my old rescue dog, Baxter, a worn notebook crammed with client notes, and a few pens I'd pocketed over the years. 15 years of my life reduced to a backpack. That's when Ryan, the new hire, all hair gel and cocky swagger, sauntered over. He was, maybe, 24. Fresh out of college and full of himself. Later, old-timer, he smirked. Guess it's time for the new blood to take over. I could have said a lot of things. About how I'd personally closed more deals in a month than he'd probably manage in 5 years. About how loyalty and experience weren't just buzzwords to slap on a resume. Instead, I just smiled, zipped my bag and said, "Thanks for the opportunity." Calm, measured, like I wasn't internally seething. I walked past Maya, her worried eyes following me, past the break room where I'd spent countless lunches, through the glass doors, and into the elevator. My reflection stared back, a little more grey at the temples, a few more lines around the eyes, but a jaw set harder than ever. At home, I dropped my bag on the kitchen counter, cracked open a beer, and reread the email. Effective immediately. 15 years of sacrifices. Late nights. Weekend calls. Clients I'd nurtured like fragile plants. And Elliot couldn't even pick up a goddamn phone. I opened my laptop and stared at my ancient resume. Last updated 5 years ago? Maybe more. Didn't matter. The bones were strong. $6 million in managed revenue, over 40 major accounts, multiple expansion projects driven solely by me. By midnight, I'd sent it out to a handful of people. A recruiter I met at a seminar, a VP at a rival firm, and Tom Barrett, an old client who once joked he'd poach me if I ever got tired of Vertex. Phone buzzing broke my focus. Elliot Vaughan. Nope, not tonight, buddy. I let it ring out and went to bed with a gnawing pit in my stomach. Not from fear, from something deeper. Anger. The next morning, I woke up to 7 missed calls from Elliot. First one at 7:55 am. Last one at 10:12 am. I didn't listen to the voicemails. Didn't need to. Whatever Elliot wanted, it could wait. Coffee in hand, I sat at the kitchen counter and refreshed my email. 3 responses already, Karen. The headhunter said she had 2 firms interested and would pitch me immediately. Liam, the VP from Apex Core Solutions, wanted lunch. Urgent discussion, he wrote. Tom Barrett, client turned friend, left a one-liner, heard you're free. Let's talk business. Options, real ones. Meanwhile, Elliot kept calling, texting now too. Daniel, call me. Urgent, need to discuss. Things have changed. Funny. Just yesterday I was disposable. Today, suddenly indispensable. I let the phone buzz itself into silence and kept sipping my coffee. Let him stew. Around 11 am, Maya texted, "You okay? It's chaos here. Total meltdown." Curious, I shot back chaos. Her reply came fast. Clients are leaving. Like mass exodus. Everyone asking for you. I froze, cup halfway to my lips. Clients. My clients. Opening my old work inbox, still miraculously active, I saw the carnage firsthand. Subject lines, terminating contract. Requesting status update on Daniel Grant. Moving business elsewhere. 38 emails. 38 cancellations. Each one a nail in Vertex's coffin. Each one a reminder. They hadn't trusted the brand. They trusted me. I laughed. Out loud. A real, gut-deep laugh. Guess the restructuring didn't factor in human loyalty. Elliot's 10th call came around noon. This time, he left a voicemail so frantic, it practically vibrated with panic. Daniel, it's Elliot. Look, mistakes were made. Clients are dropping fast. I need you back. Name your price. Please call me. Please. From the same guy who couldn't bother with a thank you. I leaned back, stretching, feeling something I hadn't felt in months, maybe years. Freedom. By mid-afternoon, Apex Score had doubled their offer. Senior leadership role, corner office. Signing bonus that made my old salary look like an insult. Tom, too, was eager, ready to fund a private consultancy with me at the helm. 3 major clients already lined up, if I said yes. Elliot kept calling. 12 calls now. 13. 14. A river of desperation flowing straight into my voicemail box. Meanwhile, I mapped out my next moves, consulting firm or executive role, and let my coffee grow cold. By sunset, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. And Vertex Dynamics? They were bleeding out, fast. And for the first time since that email shattered my old world, I smiled without bitterness. Because now, the game was mine to win. The morning after the meltdown started, I woke up feeling different, lighter, sharper. For the first time in months, I wasn't dreading my inbox. I was looking forward to it. Sure enough, it didn't disappoint. Karen, the headhunter, had lined up 2 interviews already. Apex Score's VP Liam was pushing for lunch at noon. Tom Barrett, my old client, sent another message. Name your number, Dan. I'll make it happen. Meanwhile, my phone kept lighting up with calls from one person I had zero interest in talking to, Elliot Vaughan. Missed call 7:42 am missed call 7:59 am missed call 8:15 am. By the time I finished my second cup of coffee, he'd tried 8 times. No texts this time. Straight up old-fashioned begging by voicemail. I didn't listen to them. I didn't have to. Maya texted me around 9. Oh, Vertex is spiraling, words getting around. Clients are furious. Board's meeting today. I couldn't help it. I smiled. Not because I wanted Vertex to crash, but because, for once, the right people were getting what they earned. I mean, what did they expect? You cut out the guy who spent 15 years being the only reason half your contracts didn't walk, and you think Ryan Chase, Mr. Hair Gel and Buzzwords, was going to charm them into staying. Yeah. Good luck with that. I met Liam from Apex Score for lunch at this little bistro downtown. He showed up wearing a grey suit that probably cost more than my car and a grin, like he already knew the answer. Daniel, he said, sliding a thick folder across the table, we want you bad. Senior VP of Client Strategy. Full team under you. Equity. And he tapped the folder. Signing bonus that'll make Vertex look like a lemonade stand. I flipped through it casually, pretending not to feel the adrenaline rush. It was insane money. Double my old salary, plus stock options, a yearly performance bonus, and a golden parachute. I looked up. Starting when? As soon as you're ready. Monday? I took a slow sip of my water, trying to hide the grin tugging at my mouth. Monday sounds good. Liam clapped his hands once. Knew you'd be smart about it. And just like that, my future snapped into place. That afternoon, while I was polishing up final paperwork with Karen, Maya texted again. Big news. Board's grilling Elliot. Clients are still dropping. 10 minutes later, she added, also, Ryan quit. Midday, walked right out. I almost choked on my coffee. Ryan Chase, golden boy, cracked after barely 3 days without me around to clean up his messes. Honestly, I thought he'd last longer. I pulled up my old Vertex email, still accessible, bless their incompetence, and saw the tidal wave firsthand. Subject: contract termination notice subject. Request to transfer account subject. Immediate cancellation of services 42 clients gone. Millions in revenue vaporized overnight. And every single one mentioned me by name, since Daniel Grant is no longer with Vertex. In Daniel's absence, We are following Daniel's lead. Around 4:00 p.m., Elliot finally broke his radio silence. A text. Elliot Vaughan, Daniel, the first need you. The board is threatening action. I can fix this. Come back. We'll discuss whatever you want. Whatever I want, huh? Now that his kingdom was burning down around him, I tossed the phone onto the couch and leaned back. Outside my window, the city buzzed like it always did. Taxis honking, people hurrying, life moving forward. And me? I was moving forward too. I wasn't some pawn he could yank back to the board just because things got uncomfortable. I wasn't a fixer for hire. And more importantly, I wasn't his anymore. That night, Tom called. Dan, he said, voice crackling over the line. Heard you're weighing offers. You seriously thinking corporate again? Thought you might want to go independent. Tom, I said, laughing, you're not the first to pitch it today. He chuckled. Look, man, I'm telling you, I got 3 companies ready to sign on if you open shop. You wouldn't even have to grind for clients. They'll follow you. Hell, I'll follow you. The idea stirred something in me. Freedom, total control, no politics, no Elliots. But still, Apex School was offering resources, a real team, a runway to build something bigger. Give me the weekend, I told Tom. He agreed. Said he'd hold the offers open until Monday. Saturday morning, Maya dropped another bomb. Elliot tried blaming you at a company meeting. Said you mismanaged accounts. I actually laughed out loud. If that's the card he was playing, he was already sunk. Clients weren't stupid. Neither was the board. Word travelled fast. By lunchtime, 3 of my old clients, Mrs. Brennan included, had posted public statements defending me on LinkedIn. Daniel Grant was the only reason we stayed with Vertex Dynamics. His departure exposed deep leadership issues, not his own shortcomings. Mic dropped. Saturday night, my phone buzzed again. Another message from Maya. Board's holding an emergency vote Monday. Rumour is Elliot's getting canned. I stared at the screen for a long minute, then set it down. I didn't feel giddy. I didn't feel vindictive. I just felt done. I'd given them 15 years, built their reputation, built their revenue, built their relationships, and when they tossed me aside, they didn't just lose an employee. They lost the only thing holding their empire together. Now, the empire was crumbling, and I wasn't lifting a finger to stop it. Sunday, I sat on my balcony with a coffee in one hand and a pen in the other, scribbling ideas on a notepad. Consulting, Apex Score, freelance. Every option felt better than the cage I used to call a career. The sun was setting, the sky streaked with gold and pink, and all I could think was, freedom tastes better than any promotion ever did. And come Monday, the real fun was going to start. Monday came in slow and heavy, like the sky itself was holding its breath. I didn't bother setting an alarm, didn't need to rush. My phone blew up around 8:30 am anyway. First text, Maya, board voted. Elliot's out, effective immediately. Second text, Karen, the headhunter. Apex Score's final offer attached. Congrats in advance. Third, Tom Barrett. So, ready to build something your way. I sat there at the kitchen counter, barefoot, coffee mug warm in my hands, just letting it all sink in. 1 week ago, Elliot Vaughan had blindsided me with a 13-word email. Now he was out on the street, probably cleaning out his desk, assuming he even had the guts to show up in person. Funny how fast life moves when you're standing on the right side of the truth. By noon, the trade blogs had picked up the story. Vertex Dynamics loses CEO after client exodus. Insider sources cite catastrophic leadership missteps. Once stable tech firm faces major layoffs amid turmoil. I clicked through them casually, like flipping channels. No anger, no bitterness, just a quiet kind of peace. Maya texted again. Half the floor's empty. Ryan's gone. Some folks asking if you're hiring, lol. I smiled at that. Wasn't my style to rub salt in the wound, but still. Felt good knowing people remembered who built the damn house in the first place. After lunch, I met Liam at Apex Score's offices downtown. The building was glass and steel and ambition, exactly the kind of place Vertex had once dreamed of becoming. He met me in the lobby, grinning wide. "Daniel Grant," he said, clapping me on the shoulder. "Welcome home." The contract was waiting upstairs. All the numbers we'd agreed on, double my old salary, equity stake. Full autonomy over my own department, signing bonus that could buy a sports car. I didn't hesitate, signed my name in smooth, clean strokes. No second thoughts, no looking back. This wasn't just a job. It was a launch pad. Later that night, back at my apartment, Tom called. "So?" he asked. "You pick a side?" "Yeah," I said, staring out at the city lights. "I'm with Apex Score. For now," he laughed. "Good choice. Build a war chest first, then build your empire," I chuckled. Exactly. Tom got it. He always had. See, it wasn't about revenge anymore. It wasn't about making Elliot pay or watching Vertex implode. They'd done that part all on their own. This was about building something real, something mine. A place where loyalty actually meant something, where no one got blindsided by 13 cold words after years of sweat and sacrifice. The next few weeks flew by. My new team at Apex Score, hungry, sharp, grateful. They listened when I spoke, asked smart questions, closed deals like pros. And the clients, God, the clients. It was like they were waiting for me to land somewhere safe. Old names from Vertex days started trickling in one by one. "Hey Daniel, can we move our account to you? Heard you're at Apex now. We're ready when you are." Every email, every handshake, every welcome back, it was a reminder. They hadn't trusted a brand, they trusted me. By the end of the first month, I'd personally closed over $5 million in new business. The CEO of Apex Score, a woman named Claire Benton, called me into her office. Sleek desk, city view, no nonsense. She smiled, leaned back in her chair. "You're making waves, Daniel, in a good way." She tossed a small box across the desk. Inside, a brass nameplate. Daniel Grant, Senior Vice President, Client Strategy. Official, permanent. I nodded, feeling a quiet pride settle in my chest. "Thanks for believing in me," I said. Claire shook her head. "No, thanks for proving you were worth it." Meanwhile, Vertex dynamics faded out like a bad signal. By the second month, they'd laid off half the staff. By the third, rumours of bankruptcy started circulating. Clients bailed faster than they could onboard new ones. Investors pulled out. Offices closed. Every time I passed their old building on the way to Apex Score, I didn't even slow down. Didn't feel anything anymore. They were ghosts. Old lessons. Nothing more. One night, a few months later, I grabbed drinks with Maya. She lifted her beer toward me with a grin. To Daniel Grant, the man who walked out with nothing and somehow left with everything. I laughed and clinked my bottle against hers. "Nah," I said. "I just took back what was always mine." And in that moment, it finally hit me, loyalty, work ethic, relationships, trust. Those weren't things a company could own. Those were mine. Always had been, always would be. Elliot never understood that. But I did. And because of that, I won. Quietly. Powerfully, completely. That night, walking back to my apartment, the air felt cleaner somehow, crisp, wide open. Maybe because, for the first time in a long time, the future wasn't something I feared anymore. It was something I was building, brick by brick, client by client, step by step, not under somebody else's thumb, not at the mercy of someone else's restructuring, but on my own terms. And let me tell you, freedom built by your own hands tastes better than any paycheck ever will. Story 3. I can't believe I'm writing this, but here we are. Last Saturday was supposed to be special. Instead, it turned into the night I realized how blind love can make you and how expensive heartbreak can be when you're left holding the check. I was dating Nathan for almost 2 years. Not a fling, not a situationship. 2 years of meeting each other's families, pretending to like each other's hobbies. Hot yoga was a terrible idea, thanks Nathan. And late night talks about maybe moving in together. I thought we were solid. Sure, he had annoying habits like leaving his dirty socks on every available surface and helpfully commenting on my appearance like he was my personal stylist. But I brushed it off. He's just being honest, I used to tell myself. Yeah, past me was a fool. Anyway, Nathan finally invited me to meet his work friends, something he'd always dodged before, claiming he wanted to keep personal and professional separate. I was pumped. Nervous, but pumped. I even splurged on a new outfit, a sleek navy dress that was way out of my budget. I spent hours getting ready, YouTube tutorials, flat iron, the works. When I walked into the upscale restaurant, he picked downtown the kind with no prices on the menu and plates the size of saucers. Nathan was already sitting with 2 guys he worked with, Colin and Marco. The minute I approached the table, the vibe shifted. Nathan barely looked at me, just muttered, "You're late," under his breath. I was literally 2 minutes late because finding parking in that neighbourhood is like competing in the Hunger Games. I sat down, feeling the prickle of embarrassment already starting. Nathan glanced at my dress and said, not quietly, "Oh, you wore that?" Colin and Marco exchanged a look. I laughed awkwardly, trying to deflect. Was there a dress code? He just shrugged and told me they already ordered appetizers. Over the next hour, Nathan dominated the conversation with stories from work, stories I couldn't relate to and wasn't invited to join. Every time I tried to chime in, he corrected me or talked over me, like I was the annoying little sister tagging along. When I brought up something about my job, I manage a boutique, Nathan waved it off like retail was some imaginary industry and muttered, "She doesn't really get how real businesses operate. I'm a store manager, not a hobbyist." But sure, Nathan, flex harder. When Colin asked how we met, I started to tell the story about my best friend Lucy, introducing us. But Nathan cut me off with a laugh and said, "Yeah, Lucy felt bad for her and thought I'd be a good charity case." My stomach dropped. I excused myself to the bathroom, clutching my phone like a lifeline. I texted Lucy, asking if I was losing my mind. Right then, I got a notification. Nathan had just posted an Instagram story, Boys' Night Out, and tagged the restaurant. Boys' Night Out. Like I wasn't even there. I splashed water on my face, told myself to hold it together, and went back to the table. The 3 of them were laughing but stopped the moment they saw me. Love that for me. The entrees arrived. I had ordered the cheapest thing I could find pasta because honestly, the place looked like it could bankrupt me. Nathan snickered, loud enough for the whole table to hear. Carbs? Bold choice for someone with your body type. Paper cuts. 1,000 tiny ones. By the time the check came, I was just counting down the seconds until I could leave. The waiter placed the bill in the middle of the table. Nathan picked it up, looked at it for half a second, then slid it over to me. and then he dropped the nuke. "I don't think this is working anymore," he said, casual as anything. "I'm not attracted to you. We should break up, right there, in front of everyone." After 2 years together, I froze. Sure, I had misheard. But no, Nathan stood up, pulled on his jacket, and with a smirk said, "A girl like you should be grateful someone like me even dated you." Then he left with Colin and Marco trailing behind him, laughing, leaving me sitting there with a $367 bill, a broken heart, and a dress I couldn't return. Getting home that night was a blur. I don't even remember the drive. I just remember sitting on my couch, still in my navy dress, makeup smudged, credit card balance screaming at me and feeling hollow. It wasn't just the breakup. It was the way he did it, like I wasn't even a person, like 2 years meant nothing. At some point I must have fallen asleep because the next morning I woke up to my phone vibrating off the coffee table. 13 missed calls, all from Nathan, plus 3 texts, "We need to talk. I might have overreacted. Can we be adults about this?" Adults. Adults. "Bro, you dumped me like an old pair of sneakers and left me with a $300 tab." I didn't respond. I just stared at the screen, feeling that familiar ache creep in. The worst part? There was still a part of me, the dumb, loyal part, that wanted to ask why. Lucy came over later, armed with a tub of cookie dough ice cream and zero judgment. I told her everything. Every awful comment, every smug look. Lucy was furious. "I should key his car," she muttered between spoonfuls. We both knew she wouldn't. She's more of a roast you online kind of girl. But the thought was nice. While I ranted, Lucy kept asking little questions, stuff that didn't seem important at first. Like, when was the last time you actually saw him at work? Or did he ever show you anything real about his job? The more I thought about it, the more things didn't add up. Nathan had always talked big, fancy marketing job, big projects, company card, work trips to New York and Chicago. But looking back, I never actually saw proof. No real business cards, no real office tours, just a bunch of vague selfies in front of generic conference rooms. Lucy finally sighed and said, "I don't know how to tell you this, but I don't think Nathan's who he says he is." Cue me spiraling. That night, while the ice cream melted and the wine flowed, we went full FBI mode. I pulled up Nathan's old Instagram posts, combed through his LinkedIn, dug through texts, and the cracks started showing. Photos he posted from work events, stock photos from Google reversed just enough to look unique. Big promotions he bragged about, no one congratulated him. Conference trips. Turns out the company didn't even have a Chicago office. I felt like the biggest idiot alive. At 3:17 a.m., I got a text from an unknown number. "Hey, this is Carter. I work with Nathan. Lucy gave me your number. There's some stuff you should know." For the first time in 24 hours, I didn't feel sad. I felt angry. I texted back, fast, "Tell me everything." Carter didn't hold back. Apparently, Nathan wasn't some hotshot marketing exec. He was a junior administrative assistant, basically the office coffee runner. The presentations he bragged about, he made PowerPoints for actual managers. His so-called team, 2 interns. He wasn't on the fast track to a promotion either. If anything, he was on probation for lying about project results. The cherry on top, Nathan had been telling people at work that he broke up with me because I was clingy and pressuring him to get married. Which, fun fact, is hilarious because Nathan was the one who had a secret Pinterest board titled "Dream Wedding Vibes. Men." The audacity. I sat there, phone in my lap, vibrating with rage. Not just because he lied, not just because he humiliated me, but because for 2 years I trusted someone who was nothing but smoke and mirrors. By Sunday afternoon, after more calls and digging, I had a full dossier on Nathan. Every fake business trip, every exaggerated work story, every time he made me feel small just to hide how small he really felt inside. And you know what? I wasn't going to just sit on this. He wanted to act like I was invisible. Fine. I'd make sure the people he actually cared about saw the truth. I didn't plan on revenge at first. I really didn't. But when Carter mentioned Nathan's birthday dinner coming up, the one Nathan told his family I was definitely attending, something clicked. Nathan had lied to me, to his friends, to his co-workers. But the biggest lie? He'd been feeding his family this fantasy version of us, complete with big news we were supposedly announcing at the party. Big news, all right. So Lucy, Carter, and I came up with a plan. Simple, no drama, just the truth, laid bare. The day of the dinner, I got dressed like it was any other Saturday. Nothing flashy, just a clean black dress and a messy bun, comfortable, unbothered, not trying to prove anything to anyone. I got to his parents' house fashionably late on purpose. His mom, Valerie, opened the door with a huge smile. "Oh, Serena, we're so happy you're here." She hugged me tight, like she really meant it. Part of me twisted inside. His family had always been kind. I hated that they were caught in his mess. Inside, the house was buzzing. Balloons, cake, family everywhere. Nathan's dad was manning the grill out back. His little cousins were running around with sticky hands and party hats. It looked like a Hallmark movie. And there was Nathan, front and centre, holding court, laughing, acting like king of the world. The second he saw me, his whole body tensed. I caught it, the quick flicker of panic, before he pasted on a fake smile. He hurried over, trying to whisper, "What are you doing here?" Through clenched teeth. I smiled sweetly and said, loud enough for people around us to hear, "I wouldn't miss it, especially with the big announcement we're supposed to make, right?" He went pale. I mean, ghost white. We sat down for dinner, his whole family around this huge table filled with Valerie's homemade pot roast and too many casseroles. Nathan kept shooting me death glares. I just kept smiling and passing the bread. For the first 20 minutes, I made small talk, asked about work, congratulated his cousin on her new baby, talked to Valerie about her new hobby pottery. Adorable. Then Nathan's grandma piped up, bless her heart. "So what's the big news, you two?" Nathan choked on his wine. I leaned forward, rested my chin on my hand and said, "Oh, I'd love to share. But first, maybe Nathan should tell you all what he's been up to at work." Silence. Like the kind of silence that buzzes in your ears. Valerie beamed proudly. "We heard you're leading a big project now." Nathan laughed, this weird, choked little noise, and started babbling about strategic development initiatives and client interface metrics. Total nonsense. That's when Carter, bless him, casually strolled into the house, right on cue, folder in hand. Valerie, being the sweetest human alive, said, "Oh, are you one of Nathan's co-workers?" Carter nodded, setting the folder gently on the table. "Yeah, I just dropped by because I heard about the celebration. Figured I'd hand-deliver Nathan's updated project evaluations." Nathan shot up from his chair so fast he almost knocked it over. "That's not necessary," but Valerie was already flipping through the papers. Her smile faded fast. Inside were emails, real ones, showing Nathan's actual role. Assistant, no team, no leadership. There were screenshots too, his probation notice, his missed deadlines. The HR warning about falsified reports. The whole table went dead silent, except for one of the little cousins whispering, oh." Nathan tried to stammer something about confidentiality and office politics, but the damage was done. Then Valerie turned to me, voice tight but calm. "Is there anything else we should know, Serena?" I nodded. "Oh, just that Nathan dumped me last week, publicly, in front of his friends, at a restaurant, left me with the entire bill, and then bragged about it online like it was some accomplishment. You could have heard a pin drop. Even the dog stopped chewing its toy." Nathan's dad finally spoke, voice low. "Son, what the hell is wrong with you?" Nathan, true to form, did not apologize. Instead, he lashed out. Said I was vindictive, petty, making a scene. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't cry, I didn't even flinch. I just stood up, smoothed out my dress, and said, "I'm not making a scene, Nathan. I'm just done protecting your image." Then I left. No drama, no screaming. Just the quiet, undeniable power of the truth. The aftermath later that night, Lucy and I sat on my couch, eating pizza straight out of the box. Carter texted, "Nathan's family tore into him after you left. He's been cut off financially until he gets help. HR's involved too. Karma's coming fast." I laughed, harder than I had in weeks. Nathan tried to call me a few times after that. Left rambling voicemails, half angry, half begging. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I had my closure. And it didn't come from revenge. It came from finally seeing things clearly. Funny how love can blind you. But the truth? It cuts clean.